Wilhelm, your co-host of the show, joined by
Dr. Tong, your host here.
Absolutely. So thank you for tuning back in after the break. Again, if you have your pencil and paper handy, I think we're going to be able to change your life today. If you lead a stressful life and you're trying to figure out solutions of how you're going to become less stressed, or at least be able to cope with the stressors that exist in your life, make sure that you take a couple of notes, because I really do feel like there's some life changers here.
Yeah, before we get into like what kind of behavior, what do you do to reduce stress? I think to deal with the stress factors, actively is another one. If you're having a constant fight with your teenager child, maybe solving that problem will reduce your stress level.
Sure.
If you have a bad marriage, maybe working it out or divorce would take care of that factor. It depends on what's stressing you out, and so obviously that's a big one.
Absolutely. If I could share, a couple of personal experiences, that we're all stressed. So very few of us could say, I have a completely stress-free life. And if so, we want to bring you on the air and have you teach everyone how to have a completely stress-free life. But my biggest stressor in my life was just a massive to-do list. And if I'm not going to talk too much about it, because I dedicated an entire show to it on the Social Universe, our other show, last week. But go to gqs.com, gqueues.com, and you will be able to find, if you're anything like me, if your head is constantly spinning with all the things that you need to do, all the commitments, if you live a multifaceted life like I do, and Dr. Lee does, I definitely know that she has a multifaceted life. If you're a person who just has things flying around in your head all the time, and especially if you're the type of person who can't go to sleep at night, or you wake up at night and there's all these things flying around in your head, go to gqs.com and organize your life. I would also recommend a couple of books to go along with it. One is called Get Things Done, and the other one is The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Those are, I wouldn't say they're diametrically opposed, but they are two different schools of thought about how to get things done, how to prioritize. And so what ends up happening as a result of things flying around in your head is that you get them down inside of an app on your phone. What GQs is essentially is Google Tasks. So if you're a Gmail user, I would highly recommend going away from Google Tasks and going to GQs, because they actually took the concept of Google Tasks and allowed, it just made it more robust. And so it actually integrates with Google Calendars and all kinds of things, where you can actually then live up to your commitments, and there's a certain amount of power that comes into your life where all those stressors, instead of it overwhelming you, it releases endorphins when you get to mark things off and all kinds of cool stuff. So I'll turn it back over to Dr. Lee on that, since she's nodding her head. But that's one way to gain control over your life where you feel out of control sometimes.
Absolutely. I think the modern life is so fast-paced, high speed, and everybody's trying to keep commitment, and most people have a deadline to meet for many things. Being organized is definitely one of them.
Absolutely. And it's fun. It's organized in a fun way. So, for example, when you go into GQs and you have, because I literally have 3,000 items. I got I got not a reprimand, but
it's
child.
like a video game. You actually get
Yes.
a target down.
Thank you for understanding it. It turns into your own little computer game. And so anytime when somebody says, hey, could you hold on for a minute? I flip out my phone. Some people are texting, their friends or whatever. I'm actually organizing and prioritizing my life. What feels so good about it is that even if you have 3,000 things to do, but you've now prioritized your life, and those 12 things that you've allocated to do that day, if you're doing those 12 things, who cares what the other 2,988 things are that you need to do? If those are the highest priority things to do, you do them and you live a stress-free life.
That's good. That's good.
Sure.
Being organized being the top one we talked about. Other things, just general activities that will reduce your stress level. We mentioned about stress-free or de-stress diet. Because a friend of mine mentioned it to me, like, oh yeah, this is gonna help with my stress. So I'm like curious, really, there's such a diet? I did some search and research, and really, it's just eating well.
Right.
Do not make eating another stressor in your life. That would be the de-stress diet.
True. Yeah, and I agree with what Dr. Lee is saying. There's no magical. We want food to be a drug. We want food to, give us uppers when we want to have more energy. That's why we're taking 5-hour energy shots and drinking coffee. We also want food to make us more relaxed. But really, what it is that when we have stress in our life. Could I talk about stress on a cellular level for just a moment?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, very good. Because there's really two types of stress. There's the stress that we've been talking about mostly on the show, which has to do with how we feel, the stress that we feel in our life. And then that does actually move, if you have more stress, like you're talking about the physiological responses, where your eyes are, dilated. Is it dilated or what's...
When in a fight and flight situation,
yeah,
your
so
eyes
it's
can
dilate.
dilate.
You bet.
Yes.
And then your muscles tense because it's that same concept of fight or flight, and that's one of the major stressors is something's after you on the flight side of things, or you're going to fight. So and if you think about as a person who's stressed, they're much more difficult to get along with. Point that I'm making is that that eventually does hurt your body on a cellular level. But there's another kind of stress, and that's how you treat your body about what goes into your body. And it on a cellular level, that means each individual cell in your body can be stressed by all the poisons that you're putting into it. So really, when you look at a stress-free life, developing a stress-free life over time, and eating a diet that is going to be less stressful for you, it's more that you're de-stressing the poisons you're putting into your body. So you stop taking the caffeine, you stop drinking, you stop smoking, you stop eating so many Twinkies now that they're back on the market. All those things that are stressful on your body actually do affect your ability to handle the environmental stress that's around you.
While you're talking about that, my mind was just, a little bit away, thinking about my teenager son.
Sure.
There's a concept about what's healthy, what's not healthy. I think it's related to who is the subject we're talking about. For my 16-year-old, I think hamburger and French fries are not necessarily junk food for him. He can burn all the calories.
Sure.
And as long as he's taking in enough other nutrients-rich food, vegetables and fruits, then that's healthy food.
Sure.
But for me, it's definitely junk food. I don't need that.
And it causes more stress over time.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't utilize all these calories. It becomes unwanted weight, and it becomes a stressor.
You bet. But just because you do treat your body right, and just because you do eat nutritionally extremely well, doesn't mean you're going to cope with stress well. It just means that you're going to have a healthy body, which helps. That's one factor, but one factor only.
To cope with the stress.
You bet.